send it to anyone else. And I decided, well, I've been sending this out for a year and no one else has asked for it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that's what I did. And that was in this, about June of last year. And in October, and I kind of forgot about it, to be honest, because then I was focused on my second book that I was continuing to write. And in October, in my junk email box, there was a little notice from a press, this press that I had sent the information out to, that said, here's your contract, which was very exciting. So I did, was able to, in February, to put out this book, and through that process, and it's a publishing company called Wings ePress. So it's one of those small presses, and they put out 5 books a month, and they are primarily an e-publishing company, as you talked about, and they do the print on demand. So this book was produced through the print on demand process, and that was kind of exciting, very exciting.
Oh, it's very exciting.
And I've continued to write my second book, and am in the process of trying to find a publisher for that also, and going through the same process. And haven't gotten to the end of that one yet, but well, yeah, we'll get there. So, but you just signed a contract for your first novel.
I did. It's actually my 4th novel, but it's the first one I'll admit to.
Okay, that's different. Yes.
Yes. I did. Back in June, I think I signed the contract, again with a small press. One of the big differences between small presses, by the way, and traditional presses is almost none of the small presses offer what's called an advance. And advances are actually just advances on your royalties. That's the money that you would make off the book.
Right.
This allows the publisher to actually make money selling far fewer copies than a big press would have to sell in order to break even on the book. Most books, and it's about 70% of them, don't earn back the money that the author got on an advance. So it's that remaining 25 or 30% that are making money for everybody, which is why it's so hard to get into a big press. And small presses, because they don't offer advances, but they just give you royalties, don't have that big expense that they have to.
The outlay at the beginning.
Right,
right.
Exactly. So they can take chances. And
well, are they taking a chance with you?
They probably are. I mean, actually, every press is taking a chance with you.
Right.
I actually write urban fantasy.
Okay.
Which is a genre. And urban fantasy with a Christian worldview. To get really
narrowing it down even more,
put a fine point on it. So there's naturally the more sub genre you get, potentially the smaller the audience. But again, presses will focus on one particular aspect of genre.
Right.
And my press, which is cogwheel.net, they do speculative fiction. Specifically speculative fiction, which puts it into the science fiction and fantasy world.
Okay.
And same thing, I found them through duotrope.com, looking for speculative fiction, dark speculative fiction of a certain length. And they were a new press seeking new authors. So I thought, well, heck, why not? I'll query. I had done the query thing too, with similar results.
With agents.
With agents. It's just too odd and interesting. I'll make it sound interesting. It's an odd and interesting book.
It is. It's a great book. It is.
Ours is too.
I mean, the thing that we haven't said is that Jen and I have spent the past 3 years in a writing group that has seen all the versions of all the chapters of these books. So,
the birth of these novels.
Right. So we've been writing together for the past 3 years. So we've had a chance to read all the versions of all the chapters that we've written.
Yep. And my novel went from very long to long. So, the longer the book, the less of a chance they'll take on it, because it's just, especially if you're doing traditional printing, it just costs that much more.
Right, right.
But an e-press or an e-book print-on-demand publisher is more willing to take that chance.
Because they're not outlaying that money ahead of time for the printed copies or the advances.
Right, right.
So there really is a minimal investment in you ahead of time.
Ahead of time.
They do invest in your editing and producing a cover.
A cover, and in case you have one, a trailer. I have a trailer coming out.
That's sort of exciting. Huh?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Book trailers. Yeah, you advertise movies now the same way, books the same way as movies. So that book is actually going to come out, I believe, late November for the ebook, and then December for the print copy.
Okay. Okay.
So
in time for holiday
in
giving.
time for holidays, yes. But that's typical nowadays, that you release an e-version first if it's a primarily e-press.
Okay.
And then you release the print version.
Okay. So some of the other things that we've talked about through the course of our interactions that people need to do if they're really interested and serious about publishing their work is to establish a personal website.
Yep.
Do some blogs.
Yep.
Have some idea of, as you were talking about, your potential audience and your marketing, way to market your book once you're done, because the traditional world is different already, and especially if you're in a small press or you're self-publishing or the indie press, you're going to be doing pretty much all your marketing.
All your marketing. More and more and more and more. Publishers of all sizes are asking authors to be a big part of their own promotion. Now look, you spent all this time working on your novel. And you've done all the background research, especially you've got an historical, you know what it takes to do this. So do your research, find out as much as you can about the publishing industry. It's changing constantly. It's in a big state of flux. But know what your genre is. Know what your presses are like. Act like a professional from the beginning. And in order to know what a professional does, you need to research it and then do that. So that's a big tip that we could give to anyone who's looking to publish a book these days.
Right. Once my book came out, I was the one that set up my book signing parties, which I had several of, and that was one of the big ways that I sold a lot of the books. Is through my own efforts, one-on-one. I am grateful that I have a lot of friends and family.
I'm booking blog tour dates now.
Okay.
Blog tours are when you write on different people's blogs.
Oh, okay.
And you have a little tour that you go around with. And then I'm also just started today asking for authors of other speculative fiction, other authors to submit for me to interview them on my blog. There's all kinds of cool things you can do too. You can do character interviews. You can actually talk to your characters in your blog. But there's a lot of promotion that you have to do. However, what sells the book is the book. So you got to write a good book to begin with.
That's true. You got to start with a good product. Right. Right. So. Okay. And there are some other ways that people can educate themselves about the process. There are writers' conferences. There are online forum. I just went to the Brooklyn Book Festival, which it was free. It was all day. There were hundreds of presentations. My newest book is a historical novel about gypsies in Connecticut in the 1800s. And one of the presentations that I went to was about historical novels and people who had published them and how they dealt with certain issues that are unique to historical novels. So that was quite interesting.
I really encourage everyone, every aspiring and current author to attend a writer's conference. They really are very valuable. And the same thing with just get out there, talk to people. There are tons and tons and tons of blogs. There are lots of membership organizations that you can join and learn from other people. I mean, you don't need to discover the whole world for yourself. Network, talk to friends, talk to published authors. You can contact us. I don't know everything, but I do know an awful lot now, much more than I did when I started pitching this book.
Right. And there was one site that you told me about that's been very useful. What's that one called? The water cooler?
Oh, Absolute Right Water Cooler.
Thank you.
.com. Yes, AbsoluteRightWaterCooler.com. They give you, it's like the idea of you're meeting at the water cooler and you're asking questions. And you can pose pretty much any question, and it's all sorted by genre. It's a listserv thread that you can, you know, ask, oh, gee, I'm looking for an agent who does zombie spy fiction, and you can probably find one.
And if you have an offer from a publisher, you can query that section to see, or you can just search to see what other people have said about that particular publisher to see what their experiences had been.
Writerbeware.com is another one that gives you like all the parties, let's say, that don't have a good reputation, because like any business, there are ones that are better than others, and so if you're interested in a particular agent or publishing house and they're listed on Writer Beware, probably you want to think twice about that.
Good advice. Yes. So, well, anything else you want to add?
Anything else I want to add? I was going to say, if you're interested in publishing, you're going to have to get a thick skin, because you're going to need to be prepared for rejection.
That's true.
Or, as one friend of ours calls it, the great silence.
Yes.
Remember how I said at the beginning of this interview, the publishing world apparently is drowning in books, or people who have books that they want out there. My publisher gets 12 queries a day.
Okay.
And she's only been in business since, well, 2012.
Okay.
So that should tell you something.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just exponential.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. And the big ones, they probably get hundreds and hundreds of them. The same thing with the agents. Some of them are really nice, and they give you a nice turn down. Some of them give you a form letter turn down. Some of them don't respond at all. And I would say you can wait. I mean, they'll tell you right up front, wait 60 to 90 days before you even inquire. Did you get my email? On the other hand, I would also like to say that when you get that pitch letter right, that query letter and your synopsis and all these other things that you're going to need to attach, when you get it right, you will get response. Because when I finally did, and it took me a long time, I had, I don't know, 5 requests, I think, all at once, requests to see the whole manuscript. I had 3 offers for the book, and my publisher got back to me in 4 hours. The one I finally went with.
Excellent.
So they really are paying attention,
right.
But they just are not going to respond to what they don't think is going to be right for them.
Okay. So there we have it, navigating the publishing world today. Thank you very much for watching the ABCs of Education. Jen and I thank you for watching our piece of it. If you have any comments or suggestions, you can email them to theabced@yahoo.com. I hope you've enjoyed this. We've enjoyed doing it. I'll speak for you.
Yeah, sure can.
And thank you for watching.
So I suppose
brave and bold. Do something visible. Gonna love my neighbor the way I should. Do something visible. Gonna love the world like Jesus would.